G'day, it's Mike here. I'm doing a series on the DF65 Dragon Force 65 boat, and this is my boat number 52, and we've just come off a couple of the series where the boat's done reasonably well in the state and regional series. So I just wanted to run through, a lot of people have been asking me about how to set the boat up for heavy weather sailing. So what I'm going to concentrate now on is 15 kilometers to 20 kilometers an hour breeze, which is you can use your A+ rig, and the sorts of things you can do and the sort of problems which you have when you're sailing, particularly in relation to where you set your boom, where you set your jib, forestay tension, backstay tension, using the ram down the bottom to affect some issues and controlling overbend wrinkles, which we get continually on this sail, and just looking at the various ways to increase the performance. What I basically have found over the series is that a relatively straight mast with a very tight forestay has benefits. Those benefits are it forces the leech to be relatively tight, so you get this cupping effect which creates more balance in your boat. Also, by having a tight a straight mast, relatively straight mast, you reduce the amount of overbend wrinkles which you get, particularly off these points when you start tightening up your forestay when you pull this backstay on. So the key issues when you're sailing in 15 to 20 kilometers hours is to work out what sort of chop you have, because chop really influences a big way in which the amount of foot which you put in these sails, and particularly what I found with those choppy conditions, you push your jib out to about 35 in the foot. You bring your boom in. Surprisingly enough, I bring my boom in to around about 10 to 15 mils off the center line, and I reduce this foot to about 25 on the main, trying to get rid of some of the weather helm. Another way of reducing weather helm is to pull your cunningham eye down. That shifts the draft further forward and creates more effort on your sail further up here. You obviously want to make sure that your boat's balanced and it's sailing through the water nice and cleanly. One of the first things I wanted to discuss today was the use of the sliding post down the bottom. Generally in lighter breezes I just have this loose and I don't actually change the position on this. I just have it loose so that it moves backwards and forwards so I can change rigs easily. However, when you get into the stronger breezes, particularly when you're pulling your backstay on, you're getting a lot of mast bend. This creates some overbend wrinkles which come out from this section here. You can't really get rid of them by generally pulling your cunningham eye, which is on a normal boat you do that because you don't have this in a groove there. So what I do is I push the ram. I use the slider down the bottom as a ram. So I move it back like this. I don't know whether you can see that, but you move it back like that. What that does is it puts pressure, additional pressure on your forestay, and eases the backstay a little bit, but additional pressure on your forestay. But the main component of what it does is it straightens your mast up, effectively straightens your mast up. We're not talking about a huge amount of pressure on this, but just enough to stop the overbend when you do pull your backstay on. That's a very important consideration going forward. So when do I do that? It's really at the top end when I really need to get a very tight forestay. Now I still have a tight forestay right in here, but I'll have, you can see here there's the actual halyard on the jib. I'll have relatively loose so that I can actually get some shape into the sail. Particularly in strong breeze, you want shape in the sail. and you want that sort of cupping effect to drive your nose down and into it. You need the boat relatively balanced, and you achieve that through pulling your backs down, believe it or not, and straightening and tightening your forestay up. That has a dual effect of actually tightening your leech and keeping your leech in tight. If you don't have that, your leech will fall away and you'll get a lot more weather helm coming out of it. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is get a balanced boat which is fast. And that's what I've found is relatively fast. As you can see here, I've got lots of marks on here. I basically run this jib in heavier conditions out around about 38 off the edge of the mast to the edge of the boom. And then I've got a series of measurements which I've got here, which vary in terms of different types of breezes, which I run up from, I don't know whether you can see it there, but 15, 10, 5, 0 knots. You know, I've all got different types of measurements which I run the various measurements for. I start off generally in heavier conditions. I'll bring this boom in a little bit and have more twist. To the extent I have, in terms of total twist coming up here, I'll run up 70 mils off here when it's here. But I pull it in here, flatten the mainsail, run it at about 70, run this at about 60 to 65 on the jib, and have a very tight forestay. That's basically about it. The important thing then is, you know, when you are sailing these boats, what you really need to do is make sure you don't stall the boat by you know, being overzealous and trying to go for speed. The real issue is to try and try and go for pointing. The real issue is to keep your speed going, and through that speed you'll actually develop lifting off the back edge here, and it'll lift it up. One other important thing is in these heavier conditions, it's better to run your battery slightly back from the center. So rather than, generally I have it on mid, but in the heavier conditions it's actually better to run it slightly back against the back of the fin box. That keeps the nose out, keeps your boat sitting on the flat edge here, and it stops the weather helm as you go forward and creating lift off the leeward side. Twist. The most important thing is to try and get your twist right. You know, try and get this falling away properly, so you've got a really balanced boat. Very important to have that. But the combination of having the balanced boat and then sailing the boat through the tacks properly, and making sure that you don't have any overbend wrinkles in it. You've got a tight forestay, loose jib halyard. You have a tight Cunningham. Well, you don't really need a tight Cunningham. I usually sail with just not a tight, a medium Cunningham on the main, because I don't mind having a bit more pressure in here. And you flatten this section out here. That's basically it. But importantly, you know, it's about getting a lot of experience sailing through the chop. When you do tack, you know, make sure this is, you know, turning pretty significantly in those heavier conditions. You want to just slam it across pretty quickly, so that it goes on to the next tack and away it goes. You know, sometimes I've been unable to tack because the angle of this is not significant enough to actually push it round. You know, it's important, I suppose, also when you're working upwind, is just to keep clear of other boats, and you know, when you do get a bit of chop, the more chop, ease your sails off, run it free. You know, run the boat free, and then pull the sails in. So as you go through the tack, ease your sails off, bear away, and then come up. Particularly when the chop sort of dissipates or disappears, then you can go up a bit higher. Just use your fine tuning on your receiver for that, or your transmitter for that. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you enjoy these videos, and that's on heavy weather sailing. So look forward to seeing you out in the water. Cheers for now.